Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our virtual meeting on the White Mountain Apache Tribe Rural Water System. My name is Dominic Graziani, and I'm a NEPA project manager with the Bureau of Reclamation at the Phoenix area office. Before we get started, I've got a few housekeeping rules. We'll be given a PowerPoint presentation with a few speakers. After the presentation, a recording of the presentation and other information about the project can be found at the project website at www.wmat-rws-eis.com. The easiest way to find this is to simply type in WMAT EIS or WMAT Rural Water System into Google, and it should be one of the first links that pop up. During the meeting, viewers who have logged on using their Facebook or YouTube accounts can type questions or informal comments into the chat box. Except for the presenters, everyone attending will be muted during the meeting, so please use the chat box for anything that you want to say. We will take questions between the presentations or at the end of the presentations to address what we can at this point, and we will try our best to respond to all of the questions that we receive. While the chat box is an easy way to communicate during the meeting, we understand that everyone watching may not have a Facebook or YouTube account. So we've also set up different ways for anyone to submit more formal comments. If you would like to submit a more formal comment to ensure that it is considered in the environmental review, the easiest way is through the project website. You can also email or mail comments directly to the Bureau of Reclamation. We'll go through these details later in the presentation. Our three speakers today include the Honorable Casey Velasquez, the chairman of the White Mountain Apache Tribe, Cheryl Palezote, the project manager with the White Mountain Apache Tribe, and myself, Dominic Graziani, a NEPA project manager with the Bureau of Reclamation. With that, I'll hand it over to the chairman. Next slide, please.
Good morning, Debote. Casey Velasquez kunse. But White Mountain Apache Tribe, Ipa Nantanchliko, tribal chairman. Welcome, everyone, to our meeting today. I am Casey Velasquez, chairman of the White Mountain Apache Tribe. Next slide, please. Today, we have a presentation on the Rural Water System project located on the Fort Apache Indian Reservation in Arizona. One of the key benefits of the project is that it will distribute fresh water to the communities between White River and CBQ on the reservation. If this sounds familiar, we've been working to develop a water supply system since the late 1970s. In 2009, the White Mountain Apache Tribal Council and others approved an agreement to develop this project. This project was enacted into law by Congress, and the Bureau of Reclamation has a responsibility to construct the water system. The project was put on hold in the year 2014 to address some engineering issues, but we are back on track now. This project is so important to the White Mountain Apache Tribe and the White Mountain Apache tribal members. As our well fields are in irreversible decline, we are in need of a safe, secure, and dependable water supply. This is important not only for our people, but also for all residents of and visitors to our beautiful homelands. In addition, this project is important to local businesses and schools who also require a safe, secure, and dependable water supply. I thank you for your support of the tribe's rural water system project. It will provide the long-term, reliable supply of water that is needed for current and future generations. As I conclude, in my Apache language, Kachin, Kore, Denafistan Shinihi, Di Irayulsani, Toda Sikahi Biwa, Kore Yaitineko, Goti, Guriana, Kore, Minor Flat Dania, Toda Sikahi, Go, Bideyu, Cedar Creek, you, CBQ, a cool. Besun tiro lesaku, Toby in little less. Wakun deno shini, Tusikani, of slaughter less. got associate den o sini aisto a kuna fana tira case out there that's all the store you don't know one den filtan sini hi that you ukahi telobe no fa White Mountain Apache tribe is still ba na rasosiro les na ran fushkam a show na. Next you will hear from Cheryl Palezot with details about the project. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Chairman. 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 Hold on here. Hold on here. My name is Cheryl Pilzer. Okay, my name is Cheryl Pilzo, and I am the Rural Water System Project Manager. I also have Dallas Massey here with me, who will be translating in Apache. Good morning, Dallas. We'll go ahead and start with the next slide. So the question, what is the rural water system? We're going to go over some basic information about this project. The Rural Water System Project is designed to store, divert, and distribute water from the North Fork of the White River. The water will be distributed to the communities in the Fort Apache Indian Reservation between White River and Sibique. Water would be used for municipal, rural, and industrial purposes for the benefit of the White Mountain Apache tribe. When we talk about municipal, rural, and industrial, some examples include the municipal, your basic bathing, cooking, and cleaning water use. Rural, we can think about the community of Carrizo and their need for water for that community. So this water will be able to be provided to them. Industrial, examples of that would include WMAT, who needs this water to continue their area as in regards to fire protection and the boiler system. Also, LHSA fish hatchery for the rearing of the fish that we use here in the communities.
The Hatila Alze Rural Water System Project was the Hatila Alze na ira ketole. The two no quick for the settle now for yet hayao ko. Two no for the sika. Ako yao chinli on the hall that Jane if we communities if you up there or not on lead or less. Ako ABG yako, the no could you stop with yet. Chol Gojira ko. Kohyo, you on the CBQ, you chedos, Tirole. A Koti project, Sida one, no, what Mount Apache tribe be used around Tirole. Koti Ani Yelti, Yuya. To how use others Iroles, Rose, Tibetara, Kisiko, the IDE, between around Zinida one, the Abitole. Anati rule that the secret Yako. Ebetisio, CBQ, unit. Tao te tondli o aldi ta Samuel yendi akubena titule to ako ko da te no chari klani o ebe on ses ebe tissue boiler system steam be use of any the indi be la titule.
Next slide. Okay. The project includes construction and operation of the Minor Flat Dam and the storage reservoir on the North Fork, expansion of the North Fork intake structure, expansion of the White River Surface Water Treatment Plant, and a new 50-mile long water distribution system.
The two no carbon stay now ritaiko. All day ebe tissue how not worth to let a Minor Flats Dam that the toda sikai a konuka manai kai dichi. A cotina for you, Tono Hora Sikai, a Rama, Ko Yao, two chilas lini, higher two, bitas it in Roleso. Chow no Honor de Roles, a two high talk no ritahi, yet what review water treatment. That is the ending the what chow honor de idea baby cho diroles. A two it saying Zak, you know what it's echo, what review or civic 50 miles high she two no what it's Ko di no kui project di no kui ide o distoki bi yuya ko ide ran clinic.
Next slide. Next slide. So this map shows what the project would look like, and I wanted to just highlight some of the major components of this project. If you look on the top right side, you have the minor flat, the proposed dam site, and you see where the water is being stored in the reservoir. Once the water is released, it would flow down to the existing intake structure. An intake structure is if you go down to Diamond Creek, you see a 4-foot dam. That's the intake structure. The water will go to that area, and it would be expanded. It would be diverted from that intake structure, and the water would be pumped up to the community of Diamond Creek, where it will be put into the water treatment plant. The water treatment plant then would treat the water, and the water then would be released and distributed along the pipeline, and the pipeline is highlighted in yellow. The pipeline would then extend into the communities of White River, Canyon Day, Cedar Creek, and just before you get to Carrizo Junction, it would cut across to Carrizo and then out to CBQ.
Di tura si kahi tagay na for isteo no kali tsehiko ako e tura sky le hi e bichaya tura itlani no kitanan lino le e now for dal diera ko achol boji chawnteo iko you treatment plant was e bi chinglino le di titsoko inchoki e bitik ako akut itse ya Canyon Day ya seed creek you like o kriso you sirkiu you chinantio e litsoko ikate a ku tuts itero letto la Asialandini is for 7 miles you ndira ma turte una kwan liro le.
Next slide. So what we're going to cover now is the different components of the rural water system. Here's some additional information about the new dam and reservoir, as well as the future dam, what the future dam would look like. The dam and the reservoir would be located about 12 miles north of White River, or if you are driving north from White River, it would be at milepost 350. Water captured behind the dam would fill the canyon, creating a new reservoir. The dam then would release water stored from the reservoir into the river when the river is low. For example, we see that in June and October. And then we would see this water also being captured during high flows, usually from monsoons or from snowmelt. This is to ensure that we have a more reliable flow of water downstream of the dam.
Di tono hara si kahi now for you all day ko hayusha dano sinle you a handa ya yao about 7.5 miles yao kilteyu aku tono hara si karoles ana chol was using tale you e takonel ilteha about 12 miles hayu a dam all day ko tura si kahi di dam all day ilteha no kwa tselo no kwa all day roles ko e aku One tsere kenstole e tura si kahi to chao no harta si kako era no serole ti no ki reservation bi yuya
We'll do that one.
ta si ka.
Okay. We'll cover that on the next slide. Sorry. Next slide. Okay, so this here shows a picture of the dam when the reservoir would be filled and when you would see low flows. So the low flows are highlighted in blue, and it's on the bottom left corner. When the water is at its highest level, you would see it expand all the way up. That shows the red area. If you look at the map, you can see on the left side that the water will extend up through the Cottonwood Canyon. It would also be lakefront property for Roberts Ranch, if you see where it hugs along that area, and it would extend out to Lower Log, and that would be by the Lower Log Bridge. Unfortunately, it will also flood out the campgrounds at Lower Log. when we talk about the dam, we say that it's going to be filled up of 8,600 acre feet of water. What is an acre foot? An acre foot is about a football field of water that is filled up to 1 foot. Another example is Reservation Lake holds about 6,000 acre feet of water, and Holly Lake holds about 2,500 feet of water. So if you pour those two lakes into this one area, that gives you an idea of how much water would fill this reservoir.
Ti tono hara sikahi now for you. Ti be zaida no io ti chiu in tsoko. Ti rotera no lower lock was a you aku to the sky so high sketlia. A kunil arles. Ako ti dam me high sket you out take cause the hands are you to the sky lay. Go hindat in it are you reservation lake. There was only out there. Cool to you 6,000 foot acre ko. On a Holly Lake, use an example of the AU 2,500 acre. Ako the to the sky 8,600 bikaho to you taroles. Ako agang sao to no hara sika ako the high sketty ako to ascaroles ako tagayo.
Next slide. The project would also expand the existing North Fork intake structure and the existing surface water treatment plant. Similar to current operations, water from the river would be diverted at the intake structure and pumped to the water treatment plant for treatment. The expanded facilities would be able to handle more water than the existing conditions.
Ti tura sikahi now for yuko. Este ohaya chin liroles ako now for you two bara disney you teaching at you two high toki a dam was on chishan stoko in chow no hanel de ako intake das di elton no ha chow hanel de roles ako two no ha toki in the sound of keroles ako water treatment was ani elton no ha chow hanel de ko di binawit aho at you da was ani da Ti two bana te hibi at like on tunus aras liroles ti money flats dam bana kai dine eight ako no hoskira distona ta tunal gortoles.
Next slide. So what is the new water distribution system? This would be the pipeline that would extend from White River all the way into Sibique. And this is 50 miles of pipeline for these areas. This would also include 2 booster pump stations. One would be located in Cedar Creek and another in Carrizo. In addition to that, there would be 3 new storage tanks located at Sibique Ridge, Cedar Creek, and Geronimo's Pass. The new pipeline would run roughly parallel to the State Route 73 for about 32 miles before it cuts across into Carrizo Junction and crossing over to Carrizo Ridge for additional 7 miles into the community of Sibique. This also creates more opportunity for additional homes to connect to this pipeline as well. And so this distribution system would distribute water to all the communities within that pipeline area.
Ti to the nege no hare titsehiko. Dera tini bi you communities on and the leader to have tool stay no handly on what the young Kayera or 40 patchy Kenyan Day Cedar Creek Creaso a CBQ you the cleaner out the tool stay on the handling on the distribution system that is the 2 million the 50 miles you know what it's saying the Cedar Creek you a pumping station from what does it is Creaso yunde a tour as it Geronimo's Pass you like told what does it Cedar Creek yitoko like CBQ Rich that is the a tour what does it the tool down what the geo data queue the settle on 36,000 how you go did that does tour a clown what tell 2 weeks others deal on that does you want to so cancel as I call that one tool others need to
Next slide. In addition to the water that would be diverted at the North Fork intake structure, the project would also support downstream water diversions for farming activities, starting at the Minor Flat Dam area all the way down into the Canyon Day area. The amount of water available for farming would depend on what project alternative is ultimately selected. You'll hear more about the project alternatives later in this presentation. Plans for future farming, are still in the early stages, so no details are available about what crops would be planted or what new infrastructure would be needed. The Tribal Council would need to approve any future actions for Canyon Day farming. The current project would ensure water is available for diversions.
Die to no hartsehi ban altehi lo da del klaiser dini de kel zei eindi ba klaien ko support ailseroles ko ti yang kayunde that you cannot iklehi abg you babanai kai saida das you hayu kedan kleroles solgoje ya chiras like oh Kenyan day you Amy Swasho did the das you how tools others little lehi the endi banai kayules tool how use arantini eco when ada tzi endi babuzi roles hatibichi dinik at you the hostel Koreoles zero ho.
Next slide. So there are many benefits for this project. This project would provide safe and dependable drinking water for the tribal members on the reservation and less reliance on the inadequate groundwater sources. It will also provide a consistent supply of irrigation water to support the local farms between the dam area to Canyon Day, as well as to the El Jose fish hatchery. Other benefits include short-term employment and local economic benefits associated with construction activities. For example, the construction is estimated to be between 3 to 4 years, with approximately 200 positions open during peak demand. For longer-term employment, there is also expected to be 12 to 15 new positions that will be available in regards to maintaining the new water system, and in addition to the management of the dam. Other opportunities also include recreation at the dam site, agriculture opportunities, and other general economic growth.
The house idea bits or the unse hobana case tone all day eco. The tone all day be yet tone stay no with others little less. It's a bit on the same summertime, yeah, no fits another also. They need to tune eye no outside, stay tone of others little less. Go AB, yeah, it's not. Bishaya you even on Kliji or little let go. Hayuno Kia and others are you a cool tone of what is Leo, another dead or less. Go the damn site was on ye yard out there, Canyon Day yard, rosti you a cool tone Leo no harder dead. Get a zabi you. I wish I had Tila Shayano or the one thing you dina itzikiko. Ella nada of Sikoles, the 2 years, 3-4 years, I chose to you. Idena Zikoles, go even which old Dirolesco. And I thought they be Shayu 3 to 4 years, Hayushola, Ebana Kai, and a dinner that is Ziki, which is you, but 200 high cheddars to Idena that is Zikolesola. Go Ebon Civil Castle, the two, they say, Clown at Zikiko. Go Tibet, no Diroles, that one at the Zebi, yo, the Hayu recreation that will the camp and fishing, era one with other Diroles. Tibe, no hat, Ule, go T2, which I am.
Okay, so if there's no question, if there's no questions, we'll pass the presentation on to Dominique Graziani from Bureau of Reclamation. Thank you.
And I was muted. First world problems here. I'm Dominic Graziani. I'm an environmental protection specialist or NEPA project manager with the Phoenix area office of the Bureau of Reclamation. And I'm going to spend a few minutes going over Reclamation's role in the proposed rural water system project, as well as where we are in the planning process. Dallas, please. So Congress passed the White Mountain Apache Tribe Rural Water Rights Quantification Act in 2010. It provides the funding for this project, identifies roles and responsibility, and fundamentally directs reclamation in two ways. First, it directed the Secretary of the Interior to construct the rural water system for the use and benefit of the White Mountain Apache Tribe. The tribe is planning, designing, and constructing the project through an agreement with the Secretary, and Reclamation is working with tribal representatives to this end. Once built, Reclamation will be responsible for initially operating the dam for not less than 3 years, before eventually handing operations over to the tribe. Second, Reclamation is identified as the lead agency for preparing an environmental impact statement in compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act. From here on out, I'm just going to refer to this as NEPA or the NEPA process. We're going to talk a little bit more about this in the following slides. Very simply, an EIS is a government document that describes the potential impacts of a proposed project on its surrounding environment. This type of document is required prior to the development of major federal projects. I'd like to note that this project has gone through the tribal planning and review, the tribal planning and project review process as well, which is the tribe's environmental review process and is separate from the federal NEPA process that I'm going to discuss in the upcoming slides. Dallas, please.
The Tonoharasikai Bureau of Reclamation was a Kahenokichoda Dirole. The Bureau of Water Rights Settlement Arasi Tlale 2010 Quantification Act was a Nohaza. The Todasikaro left all that was a how to get it deeply, how one I stay, the White Mountain Apache tribe to what it say, a Alzaiko. The reclamation that the beat at Yana Kaido, the preparation of environmental impact that the Dinoquini, Noquidayu, how out eroles, Hatisha, how other that was zeoi, a by tiroles, to there's Leo all the one a kai, Noquini, two that is lini, the not on so thin, the a how which was honorless was a one by the tribal plan and project review process was a ABG urban a kaidole. Next slide.
In addition to the tribe, the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are cooperating agencies for the NEPA process for this project. These federal agencies are acting as cooperating agencies in the NEPA process because they either have jurisdiction over some part of the project or the resources, or otherwise bring special expertise with respect to any environmental impact. Dallas, please.
Today's all data, bit on the Seneca. Dini Hatiman I stay, you would all want still in his ears on Tisha how other billet would serve. Ni you hatita. Now, Liu Tagi, which tell all these to this Liu Hoseo. No, he White Mountain Apache tribe, be Sayet, not a seal, honorless, idea, year old Sini, 2 year old Sini, 8 hours Sayet, not as honorless. Ebi Shahya BIA was a no shana zenoless. I want what I need. The Hayu to the terrorlessly, 8 hours what I need permit was a no what I need. Shahendi, the Corps of Engineers was a client which already did target which will tell our one and need a foreign it or that's leave all that I began go. Next.
So at this point, you might be asking yourself, what exactly is NEPA? NEPA is a procedural federal environmental law which requires federal agencies to incorporate information on the environmental impacts of a project into the decision-making process and to inform the public about those impacts. Public engagement, like this public meeting, the project website, newspaper ads, etc., is a critical part of the NEPA process. What NEPA doesn't do is dictate what elements of a project can be completed or determine whether the project as a whole will be built. In summary, the purpose of NEPA is to inform the decision-making process and to share with and engage the public and receive input along the way. Dallas, please.
NEPA was a habtation of the association. The NEPA, which is the Environmental Policy Act, the Nakwini Yuya, Ni was only how down Guinea, Asia, how impact, I don't know who let was zero corridor, as the Hayu Banal out there. Dino Quidayo, Arau Data, one, tell what I need. The federal agency, Kahino, which order D. A Dino Qui data no shini. Our Tita, I don't know which the all the EBE. Aino Kuyeti out eco the laws, the ABTK, you are next.
So why are we preparing an EIS? As the lead federal agency, the Bureau of Reclamation prepares an EIS when a proposed project has the potential to result in significant environmental impacts. Due to the scope and scale of the rural water system, it was determined that an EIS is the appropriate type of document. An EIS is a large document with several sections. This includes a description of the project being proposed, as well as several options or alternatives that can be used to complete the project. The EIS also identifies and describes the affected environment, which are the conditions and resources currently present within the area where the project will be completed. The EIS then compares the proposed project alternatives with the affected environment to help identify what impacts to environmental resources could occur as a result of the proposed action. An EIS also includes a list of permits or approvals that are required to complete this project, as well as recommended measures to avoid, minimize, or mitigate environmental impacts if they're required. Dallas, please.
The the environmental impact was a was there on the era of kitchen. Tiro that's Leo Banal Tira. No Hidayo, how other Tira wants to know what I need you, no Hoyana Kai. To that's Leo all data to go at Tita's Lehayu, no which I chora. Abara went Zana at Ita how tell you 18 of Tassi zero Lesliwa. EIS dico era one who does a terrorless sign of Haya or Yaroless, which another terror sahet without a lifting. According to this, Liubanai Kailako, go Abiga, D prepare a rate, Haton shot on of Sihil Abiga. Next.
The EIS process began or was restarted in April of 2021 with a publication of a notice of intent in the Federal Register to prepare the EIS. The notice of intent provided basic information on the proposed action, invited the public into the decision-making process, and helped determine the scope of issues to be addressed in the EIS. The draft EIS is now available for public review. A notice of availability was published in the Federal Register on July 29, 2022, which kicked off a 45-day public review period. We encourage your comments on the proposed action, including the adequacy of the draft EIS and the merits of the alternatives. You can download a copy of the draft EIS from the project website, www.wmat-rws-eis.com, or just Google WMAT Rural Water System or WMAT EIS, and it should be the first link that appears. Hard copies are also available to view in the Tribal Council executive offices in White River and the council office in the Civic U complex. Next, let's take a brief look at some of the information in the draft EIS, and then I'll go over how you can submit comments. Dallas, please.
Ti ni pai hayula na irus ket launch in the leyu hatil au zeit in the leyu ti ni pa bichas del not so sidili kena public record azako ti banai kai notice tana yu I April 20 and 21 na bana te notice tai ako ti di chio no khasi dil dat itabiga housing in the leyu ti no azale ko July 29 na ako ti ta review in July 29 yelai ko September 12 eji abahatsin yu da das bahatsin hati la hayuna das bahatsin chinze le yu I ti website if di ani no which yu se ko a bi yu yela ro I ta yu I hayula na ich kitnish I la da no se yu ti travel executive office yu chud go yu akuse net na so si ebites yu CBQ complex yu di akuse net nos ilano se yu no which open at echo di 45 days public view record urlinko ako nos ilan se yu no hap ta next.
Following the NEPA requirements, the draft EIS assesses the potential environmental impacts for a range of reasonable alternatives. This includes 4 action alternatives and the no action alternative. Because the location of the dam is limited by engineering and topographic requirements, and alternatives need to stay consistent with the wording of the Water Rights Quantification Act of 2010, the 4 action alternatives include the same construction components in the same configuration. They differ in how the water system would be operated. This means that the action alternatives were set up with different priorities for how water would be used for things like downstream irrigation diversions and the preservation of downstream minimum flows in the North Fork of the White River. The no action alternative is also a NEPA requirement. Under the no action alternative, the proposed rural water system would not be built, and the residents of the reservation would continue to rely on existing water systems. The no action alternative is not considered a reasonable alternative, but it does allow us to evaluate the effects of what would happen without the project compared to what would happen if the proposed project goes forward. Dallas, please.
Ti ni pause bichaya ko how no kudayus ani how lang das araitle the kuyu no ha tikira stoki out there for you tira das al de ne tira harane was era wana iriketi no ha at echo ako ti banai kai bi yo tu bi yo how al de rolesi ya wana harani ako yao tu chiras lido lehi indira wan lo harani tu ha on town lido lehi ha yao release arek ini indi no harani ako de sa de keyu to ha tira hoze yu keyu ayu to ha all dera ti tu ra sikai hoze oko e wan da wan te no harani chiu next.
The draft EIS provides a detailed analysis of 10 environmental and socioeconomic resource areas. This analysis covers construction impacts and impacts from the changes in the water system based on detailed stream flow and dam operations modeling. The draft EIS also briefly evaluates 9 additional resource areas like air quality, noise, and land use. These additional resources were dismissed from further analysis because they would not be significantly affected by the project, and their further consideration would not help in the selection of a preferred alternative. Dallas, please.
The EIS tafil di da wan khara ilis iu yana kai do das de hayu yana kai la di to ra lini se zanas kani ra wan te on khara ilis iko di how nara steni ti no kuidayu ha ro te ra wan ra ilis no khayana kai no hi dera no hini ra wan wana tsilas kensi dera no hi the outline bi yu ya te hayu ara no session indi ita comment all the iro tera.
Based on the analysis in the draft EIS, the proposed based on the analysis in the draft EIS, the proposed action could result in a combination of adverse and beneficial impacts. Some of the identified NEPA issues include stream flows and water temperature changes that affecting protected fish species, popular recreational sport fish species, and fish hatcheries. Creation of the new reservoir and construction of project facilities impacting wetlands and floodplains, cultural resources, Indian trust assets, and habitats for wildlife. And short-term increases in traffic over a 3 to 4 year period related to the delivery of new equipment, materials, and workers to and from various construction sites, as well as intermittent lane closures. The greatest impact would be on State Route 73, US Highway 60, and BIA Road 12, although other local roads and streets on the reservation would also experience short-term localized impacts. Additionally, a small portion, approximately 1,700 feet, of Indian Route 62, the lower log road, and Indian Route 67 on the northern end of the reservoir would be relocated above the reservoir waterline as part of this action. As previously noted by Cheryl, some of the benefits include short-term employment and local economic benefits associated with construction activities. A small increase in long-term employment and a generation of reliable and sustainable water supply on the reservation and reduced reliance on inadequate groundwater resources. Dallas, please.
Ni ba da di no kuida yo out ero le si ti ba nei kaya. Sa hati effect adan kwitsero le fozeko. Di tora disleni belano si. Summary to situk natle. Ako ABE di dam all zai bi you tool te da jara dislero to si cousin lero ABE di da fishi karal je da sai fish hatchery di. Bantero kozeo yeti na is uncle. Ebitesio di tora si kai bi you na tsiki sa beno which was aroles. Ko eben which o dirole ebitesio di no kisha you tora dauli de saira wildlife that is dinde. Era wa bantero kozeo yeti se ko di na stiki ta traffic na bil ti on la kehi a dam all day ta ayandi bara on zaroles a to effect ara no khile ko zeo yeti se ko di la ra wan te no khara ni io no khaya na kai ba kheo se a wa di ta wo to la project ki ko khaya a ti ta bi shahesin ayu ba hatsin hulte. Next.
So regarding the overall project schedule, the draft EIS has been released, and we are currently in the 45-day draft EIS public comment period. This public comment period ends on September 12th, so you still have a couple more weeks to submit any comments. At that point, we will work to complete the final EIS, which is currently scheduled to be released in spring of 2023. Construction of the rural water system is expected to begin in 2030 and then continue on until 2034. Dallas, please.
Okay, di baye ti iko. Hati anisin le you. Di September those ba hatsin le you. September 12 those ako tira ana sikera di for yane. Aye bitisyu das asha be not itzik das asha utzinzin le you 20 and 30 or be na itzik no rita. Ako 20 and 34 you chira still less more diko. Ako ti manai kai no rita tora si kai ebiga anisin you. Dita hatsin hiben those dini akuko na chira case out there 20 and 30 like 20 and 34 bige no ha wana teo lati.
So we welcome your input. The project website includes much more information on the proposed rural water system. A recording of this presentation will also be linked there. In addition, you can upload or type comments directly on the website. Again, just Google WMAT Rural Water System or WMAT EIS. You can also email questions or comments directly to me at the email address listed here on the slide. For anyone who may not feel comfortable with the website or email, you can mail comments to my office. The address is listed here on the project website and on the newspaper ads that announce the release of the draft EIS. Comments received will be responded to in the final EIS, but to be considered in the final EIS, they must be received by September 12th. Dallas, please.
Hatisha bayeti kore nokui dera noshini hatita ha amilse hilayu kore no chico so ide biyeti outi benatsikesi outi hawlati keran dito lehi di turitse ako kore no chico ha yolehindi website ya yeti kuyadaws Eilan och ebichi das respond aronche. Da ju nat so se deli koti whatever you class in that like CQ you ebit you din de bichik chi kore address tals ani Phoenix Bureau of Rectals ani ebichik chi ra ko da September 12 ako din ku na tikesi sai ha tin ko concern bishini bich arakhe di aral tin ra wa no ki dera no hini no all de ibe. Next.
So I'd like to thank everybody for their time today. It doesn't look like there are any questions as of this minute, but if there are any questions, please just type them into the chat box and we can try and answer them for you today. But I'd like to emphasize that if anyone has a question that they would like to submit at any time between now and September 12th, that to please do so, and the easiest way is to do it via the project website. Questions or comments can also be submitted via email or US mail. But the project website is absolutely the easiest way to submit an official comment for this project. Since there aren't any other questions, I'm just going to turn it back over to the chairman for some closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today. This rural water system project is so important to the tribe. I, along with the tribal council, are committed to seeing this project through so that our children, our grandchildren, for generations to come, have a safe, secure, and dependable water supply. As I summarize and conclude, I am the tribal chairman and I am steadfast. I am a leader, committed along with all 10 of my tribal council members to make sure and work hard diligently with prayer, with guidance and wisdom from our elders to move forward and see that this very important Water Rights Quantification Act of 2010 is followed through and completed. Please learn more about this project. Look at the website. Stand with us, pray with us, support us as we move forward. As water is life, may we all be blessed with life-sustaining water. Dikore, nvijahasti, ashon, tobichdego, the ana bayati guriyaniko. Koti tu bayati achi bitani taniko 2010 na guriyago aya Washington DC ya guriyago aya naritsigi 1960s dabida 1970s dabida over 50 plus years not bel guriyahi achi kulatagulto a shon nded filtan shinihi achi no fil kahi autiko Nufi ehi auti stego yati tak ajdihi yati adihi ukahi datsasneo kultohyu anaustohyu kore minor flat dam yet turi tsahira ko different utahyu naran ayu tuli kanihi Tobihi dahi, tunai zihi, ai taitanu les anostohio, sibikiu akunisto, garisohio, no fisto, and den of Aguye, a costo don faus dara, still naitigi out deco, and a show just thank you all. God bless you and have a safe, enjoyable Labor Day weekend. A show and thank you.